What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I wrote a doc, and in this video, I'm going to walk through how I built this cash flow operating system to scale and exit my seven-figure company. So this is going to be a fun one. Let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen here and walk you through the approaches, the growth levers, all the good stuff, and some insights that really help me scale and invite multiple six-figure offers. So let's dive in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, evidence how I built a cash flow operating system to scale and exit my seven-figure company. This doc really goes through some of the growth levers, some of the flow in terms of revenue that got me to seven figures in annual recurring revenue. And I'll provide a few just visual depictions of that, but also the meat of this is going to be focusing on like the four main stages that really helped me implement this cash flow operating system and apply it through the perspective of the financial side. Okay, a lot of people talk about marketing, a lot of people talk about sales. That's all important. And I used every piece of a component of running a business to scale this. But in terms of this doc, I'm going to basically walk through some of the tools that are a part of our cash flow operating system and show you how to apply it. And maybe hope shed some light on maybe your internal processes, whether that's for your agency, consultancy, small business, or e-com business. So this system was able to help me add an additional $30,000 in profit in under 6 months and eventually allow me to attract multiple six-figure acquisition offers. This is a screenshot of one of those that I did receive. I listed the company. It was an e-com business focused in the wine space, essentially helping provide solutions to large wine cellars, restaurants, and large houses that wanted to build out a wine cellar. I'd supply the units and partner with different brands around the country to essentially sell them. So, okay, bear with me. I am not a graphic designer, but this is just a very basic flow of like the revenue progression that I was obtaining and the goals that I accomplished to get to a point where it's now doing seven figures in revenue. And I was able to do this within the first 12 months, which was nice. It was a great experience. And for the first business, can't complain. One of the first main ones was having a $15,000 day. That was something I wanted to accomplish. Screenshotted that when I did it. That was a very exciting day. But ultimately, like I had a goal to get to at least 100,000 in revenue per month because you've got to factor in returns. You got to be looking at your numbers. You got to factor in potential down months, things like that. So by the time May came around, I was doing about 70,000 in monthly revenue. I approached 1 million in net revenue in October. I realized the gross, hit 1 million, but after returns, it actually was just shy. So I knew there was a little bit more work to do, but this was a very positive step forward when I was realizing, okay, I'm actually on pace for six figures in monthly revenue. So that was a nice accomplishment. And then lastly, this was, me really actually reaching that seven-figure ARR before the end of the year. And, ultimately led to me running the company, streamlining it, automating it, looking at data, leveraging financial insights and KPIs, and removing myself manually from the business, hiring teams, streamlining processes, and ultimately positioning the company for a six-figure exit. So the four critical growth levers. This is the meat of what I wanted to just highlight in this video. I could go through a longer video on just the exit. That's a pretty interesting story, but I'd like to take more time, maybe even a 20-minute video just walking through that whole process because it was insane. It was the first exit I was a part of. And if it wasn't for my CPA experience, I literally would have lost out on at least $25,000, just straight cash. Because the broker that I listed this company with did a horrible job managing the process and made some mistakes along the way. And thankfully I caught them. But it goes to show you got to really pay attention to the numbers and you could get yourself in some trouble. So four main critical growth levers for the business. And this applies to agencies, consultancies, small businesses, e-com, doesn't matter. Getting consistent revenue first, right? That's important. Hiring, automating, removing manual inputs from the daily work, reducing cost in terms of talent, reducing cost in terms of labor, becoming lean, optimizing, improving the fulfillment, multiplying the experience that the customer is going to go through, removing yourself with intention, and, really starting to look at high-level reporting and data insights from the financial perspective to take targeted measures that you as a CEO or the business owner or CFO or CRO, whatever it is your role is in terms of your business, or if you're working with a larger company, the numbers matter. You have to know your numbers. And ultimately, if you don't, you're just operating blind. You can't make decisions if you're not forecasting, if you don't know what's coming in, what's coming out, if you're levered up way too much and you can't actually do the things that you need to do because now you're servicing debt or simpler agencies where it's like, I'm doing 10K a month and I've got 4 or 5 subscriptions of revenue coming in from cold email. Sure, fine. It's not that complicated. Still absolutely think you need to just like get away from a Google sheet, get an actual accounting platform, get your numbers right, know exactly what your costs are, know what your profit levels are for each customer, margins based on each layer of every component of your offer. All these things are important from the perspective of streamlining the internal processes that allow you to scale. And third, once you're at a point where you're now profitable, you're rolling, you're crushing it, things are looking good, but you are starting to look at, okay, maybe I'm going to potentially look at a roadmap to exit and sell the company. What does that look like? When are you going to sell it? Who's going to be the buyer? Is this going to be just a very turnkey operation where I literally hand over the keys and the buyer goes about his merry way? What about your internal processes? What about your financials? If you're listing a company for sale, wouldn't you think that the buyer is going to be curious about, do these numbers add up and can they be substantiated? If you list your company with a brokerage or, a marketplace that's facilitating the sale between the buyer and the seller, they're going to pick your numbers apart. And if you don't have it down, you're screwed. And also, how are you going to position the company to be at the proper valuation that you're looking for to then turn around and not be surprised when you thought one thing and once you had to go and realize that half of these things are wrong, or you projected wrong based on messy financials or disorganized processes, or just could be an honest mistake or misinterpretation or a misunderstanding or not enough education around it. You could end up getting the raw side of a deal or end up not being able to sell and putting future things that you have in mind on hold. So things like that, really important to dial in. Lastly, positioning, negotiating, and actually selling. Like I said, clean financials, that's just a no-brainer. You have to have them at some point. So if you are going to sell your business within the next 2 years, 3 years, they're going to look at those numbers from right now. 3 years from now, they're going to be looking at the numbers today. They could be looking at a valuation multiple of average monthly net profit for the last 12 months. And that's typically how most e-commerce stores are valued. It could be a revenue multiple at a top line. It just depends. But not knowing your numbers and not having really a clear idea of especially the selling points. Like, is there an opportunity for the buyer to come in where you can tell that person there's a very clear opportunity for you to scale this segment of the business by 50% in less than 12 months. And that translates to an additional $30,000 per month in cash flow for them to not only shorten the time horizon to make good on their investment, but also get a win quickly and use that as a selling point to close the deal. Things like that are very important, especially when you're starting to sell and negotiate and go back and forth and structure the deal on whether it's upfront, earnout, if it's all cash, if it's, highly levered, if they're doing a SBA 7A loan. There's a lot of complexities that go into it, especially as the business, depending on the business size and the balance sheet as well. Being willing to walk away. If you don't have that number that you just know is the number that you need and it's substantiated and you receive offers that are well below that, you've got to then be able to start looking at why. What's going on? Is this just the timing of the market? Is this a talent, a buyer pool problem? Is this the brokerage I'm listing with and I'm not getting the proper eyeballs on this? Or is my company just actually overvalued? Knowing a good deal versus a bad deal. So these are the things that I focus on with my cash flow operating system and what I do at Stacks with my fractional CFO work. I help businesses and I help partner with them to grow, streamline, automate their processes, allow the CEO and the owner themselves to have the clarity to make those scaling decisions and to free them from a lot of the manual tasks like bookkeeping and taxes, all that stuff, right? The CFOs will take the bookkeeping or oversee it and manage it. If you just need bookkeeping, get a bookkeeper. Doesn't matter to me. But a CFO is going to be there to leverage that data in a more forward-looking approach versus a bookkeeper who's typically looking backwards. They're focusing on just taking all the transactions and putting them in the proper buckets and just making it nice and neat. The CFO is going to look at all of that data and essentially start crafting the reporting, the analysis, the risks, the opportunities to uncover additional areas where you can profit, uncover additional risks and opportunities to scale further and reverse engineer your goals to get to the next step, which could potentially be an exit. So these are the 4 main critical growth levers that I leveraged, and I have processes around in that cash flow operating system at Stacks. And if you want, I have my website below and you can absolutely go and check it out. But I'll leave you with this. If you're an agency, consultant, B2B or B2C, I should say B2C, business owner, and you want somebody to streamline and automate your financial processes, I have a short link you can check out below. It's on my website. I can guarantee that it accelerates growth or you don't pay, okay? The video is very short. It's less than 2 minutes long. Go check it out. Learn more about what I do if you're interested. If not, all good. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be putting out more content. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment, ask me questions. DMs are always open. You can find me on Twitter as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.